Hey everybody, and welcome back to Split Couch Games. I'm Scott.
And I'm Ben. And in case you're wondering, no, I'm hopefully not still sick by the time you're hearing this. We're just recording this way in advance because Scott's going to be going out of town during our normal recording time. So,
I won't be going out of town, but
you'll be busy.
I'll be super busy that weekend. Yeah. So it is currently June 24th. So hopefully nothing like super drastic happens in between now and then that we feel like we need to talk about.
Yeah. Hey, did you know that today is Ezio Auditore's birthday?
That's
Ubisoft tweeted that out. Little trivia bit for you.
Cool. So happy birthday to Ezio.
The best assassin.
But yeah, I liked Altair's story, but like, I don't know. Ezio's yeah, you're right. Ezio's the best assassin. Anyway, we're gonna be talking about Skyrim because
just in general, not necessarily specifically. Let me start that thought process over. Skyrim VR was announced at E3, and that's kind of where this is coming from. But the entire conversation is going to be about Skyrim and or the Elder Scrolls franchise as a whole.
Yeah.
And we wanted to talk about it because we just kind of we feel like they're milking it.
Well, okay, hold on. So Viper the Red wanted us to talk about it. He feels like they're milking it. But Ben feels like they're milking it. Maybe, I don't know. I don't feel like they're milking it. I feel like
really.
I feel like it's a supply and demand thing, right? Where if you have something that like you can literally just like put out there and people will just buy it, like why wouldn't you? Like
sure.
And like I don't feel like they're doing anything like too ridiculous with it. Like I feel like they're just like, because I mean, there's not that like there's the remastered versions, which is fine. Like,
okay, well, there's Skyrim, and then they had all the DLCs, and then they came out with the Legendary Edition.
The Legendary Edition was just all the DLCs, right?
Yeah,
which is normal.
I mean, like, you know, and then, you know, I suppose a few years went by, and then they did the remastered thing, and now they're doing VR.
Yeah.
But like the point and why people like, you know, Viper and I think we are, or that they are milking it, is because the game at this point is 6 years old, or rather it will be in November. And not that I'm trying to say, oh, you know, making an Elder Scrolls game is, you know, easy and it doesn't take any amount of time at all. But, like, we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, we should have had a new one by now. But instead, they just kind of basically keep re-releasing the old one. Which, I mean, like you said, it's fine because clearly people want it.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that, like, as fans of the franchise, you just want a new one.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason that I think that doing what they're doing is bad, like, it may be, you know, a quick buck, essentially. Like, releasing them on more modern consoles and enabling mods and that kind of thing was really, really cool. I love that. Don't get me wrong. But now having it in VR and everything like that is almost probably inadvertently setting a dangerous precedent for future installments. Not only that, but I feel like if they keep rehashing this old game, then there's going to come to a point where people have had their Skyrim fix within the last couple of years, so when the new one comes out, they're going to be like, well, I don't know that I necessarily want to play that right now. Sure. Because, I mean, like, on a grand scale, all of the Elder Scrolls games are pretty identical. Like, it's like the scene and the characters that change, but other than that, a lot of the systems and the base of the game is fairly similar. Giant open world, do whatever you want. And one of the greatest things about when Oblivion came out and when Skyrim came out was I had stopped playing those other games so long ago that I was at a point where I was like, okay, I'm ready for this now.
Yeah.
Because, and this is just like a personal thing for me, but I personally feel like there is such a thing as, I guess, like, open world. Like, I don't even know what words I'm trying to use, but basically just having too much of a good thing. And I feel like the game community as a whole is at that point right now. Because, like, literally everyone is trying to do open world.
Yeah.
Like, there are very few games nowadays that come out that aren't open world. And the quality of that open world is, an entire podcast in and of itself, basically. But, like, the Elder Scrolls games hold a certain quality of open world. And I feel like if they keep kind of like pushing out the longevity of Skyrim to the point where it comes too close to the release of their next game, that they could potentially end up harming themselves.
Sure, I see what you're saying. I don't think that that'll be an issue necessarily.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think that they're planning on releasing another Elder Scrolls game for a while. And
which
part
sucks.
of that is with what you told me, which I think I heard before, because it sounds really familiar. But go ahead and...
I forget who it was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, lead designer or something, but someone over there said that the reason that the 6th installment in the franchise hasn't been announced or anything like that is because what they want to do with the game isn't possible right now with current gaming tech. And I don't know if that's something that will change with the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. Like maybe 3 years from now, Bethesda's going to be like, hey guys, look, like, in order to do this, we can't be restrained by these other the older versions of this console. So maybe that'll change something. Maybe they'll be able to convince them to come out with a, PS4 Pro and Xbox One X exclusive or something like that. Or maybe they're just waiting until the, entire next console generation. I mean, that is always possible.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think it sucks because that means we would have gone an entire console generation without an Elder Scrolls game. And that's never been the case. I mean, since Morrowind, because but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard for me because I absolutely love the franchises of the Elder Scrolls, but because like I don't want them to rush it by any means. Because I mean, obviously, like, it's a giant open world game. Like, it's gonna ship with plenty of bugs as it is. No sense in making it worse. But at the same time, I feel like this is kind of one of those points where it would almost benefit them to be a little transparent in what they want to do. But at the same time, like, as a developer, you can't really say, hey, this is what we want to do, because then the gaming community views that as a promise. So I understand why they haven't said anything, but I want them to. Like, if they came out and said, hey, like, the reason we haven't done anything is because we're working on trying to get this to be, like, a co-op game, where, you could have, like, 2 or 3 people playing the exact same instance. Like, that'd be fucking amazing. I would lose my shit, and I would never see the day of light again.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I would play that with you. My biggest issue with RPGs is that they're not cooperative, and they're just kind of like, they get a little boring.
Yeah.
So, like, being able to play that with someone, I would instantly pick that up. I'd be like, Ben, we're fucking doing this. Let's go.
Like, that would be fucking amazing. And I mean, who knows? Maybe that is what they are doing.
But I feel like the technology for that is there. That's the biggest thing, right? Is like, what do they mean?
The only reason I'm saying maybe is just simply because the draw distance in those games typically tends to be pretty large.
Sure.
And relatively seamless. Like, you have loading points going into cities and caves and that kind of thing. So, in order to have that type of world that is effectively perfectly networked, I can imagine would be relatively difficult, especially considering how much of the world is essentially randomly generated in terms of encounters and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you can load the same save file a half dozen times and get a half dozen different experiences walking down the same path.
Yeah.
So
no, but from a basic standpoint, it's not much different than an MMO, right? Like, I mean, like the graphics are like a lot better. Obviously, like you said, the draw distance and everything. So like, it is going to be a beefier undertaking. But the same basic thing is, like, you know, you go through an area and then you go through a loading zone. Like, so like if you're walking with a friend and like you enter into a new region, you both like load into that region together. So like that technology is there. It may have to be beefed up.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
but I don't feel like that much.
I feel like it's the seamless part that's difficult. Because I mean, in an MMO, like 90% of the reason that MMO graphics just aren't all that great by comparison to other games is because all of those graphics are loaded at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, there might be fade distances and that kind of thing, but like every single polygon is there the moment you enter that map. Like, there's no way in hell you'd be able to do that with someplace as big as Skyrim. So it's loaded in chunks. And I feel like having a seamless networked chunk load like that would be a technological feat that is pretty difficult. Because I mean, I guess like the way to think about it would be, imagine if like Destiny didn't have those like cleverly disguised transition points between areas and it was just an open field. Like, I feel like that would be pretty difficult to, you know, pull off. And maybe it's just like hardware limitations. Like, maybe they have the tech internally, but the audience that they want to bring it to wouldn't be able to essentially use it.
Yeah. I get it. It's certainly not like, no part of me is like, okay, well, they could just like, you know, do this tomorrow, it's fine. Like, but I just feel like the base of what they want to do is available to them. Like you said, like maybe like it is just that like the networking is just too difficult, like, or like not enough people have the internet speed that they need to do that or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, whatever the case may be. So I guess like, yeah, I mean, I guess like my guess would be that it's not the hardware, it's more the like shitty internet that the US has to deal with because, you know, Comcast and stuff.
I mean, I would imagine it's the hardware too, though. At least to a basic extent. Because, I mean, especially with given how accurate, I guess you could say, the physics engine and that kind of thing is in Skyrim. Like, if they were trying to bring that forward and make it, you know, maybe even better, then I imagine that would be pretty difficult across different load zones and that type of thing. Also, I love that we're talking about this as if it's like a confirmed thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, we're not talking like we're hypothetical.
I mean, yeah, we're speaking hypothetically, but like we've gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, this is how they could do it, and then like they're gonna announce like just basically Skyrim 2.0, and we're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess, yeah. I mean, it's like it's a curious thing though, like saying it that way, where it's like we're waiting for the technology to catch up to what we want. Like, what do they want? Like that is because it's like if they're thinking so far ahead that like the technology's not there, then like that's super forward thinking.
Yeah.
Like maybe they want like an 8K game. Like they want to make, Elder Scrolls 6 8K. Because
or maybe they're going for a full VR experience.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like it's weird and like kind of exciting that they're saying it that way.
Yeah.
But like because of that, like as fast as technology is moving, I feel like technology is kind of slowing down actually in some ways. Like
I don't know.
not that it's like it's going slow, but it's not growing at an exponential rate like it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
I feel like it still is, but
well, I feel like
it's like having almost like a fake slowdown. Because I feel like it could still be advancing at the same rate, but the monetary investment required to reach those advancements isn't possible anymore.
Sure. Well, I guess like what I'm saying is like what consumers are able to get their hands on. Like I feel like 5 years ago, like the difference between laptop generations was huge.
Yeah.
But now it's like, all right, well, slightly better. Like it's still growing, and like it's still growing quickly, but it's not like
we're definitely seeing the diminishing returns.
Yeah. So with that being the case, like whatever tech they're waiting for could be 4 or 5 years out. And then they have to actually start developing it.
Yeah.
Because presumably they don't have the technology.
Yeah.
To do it, if that's the case.
Yeah. And I mean, like we said, I mean, it could just simply be that, maybe they're waiting because they want to make it exceptionally pretty, like you said, make it an 8K possible game or something. I mean, like I said, I personally think that it sucks that they are taking such a long break. And especially with the added information that they have 2 brand new IPs that they're going to be releasing before they even announce it. Like, that to me says, like, at best, we aren't even going to see a trailer for this thing until, like, 2020.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that sucks. Like, I hate that with so much of my body. I hate it. But, again, like, it's kind of one of those things of, like, well, I mean...
Although it's really interesting to me that like it's interesting to me that you feel that way about the Skyrim franchise, because anytime like any franchise goes above like 3, you kind of start questioning it, and you're like, does this really need to happen?
Well, that's because I feel
like I know that like the Skyrim universe is much larger and everything, like I get that, but like it does still kind of like, it's interesting to me.
But I feel like the Elder Scrolls is more akin to Final Fantasy than what it is Gears of War.
Sure.
Because, like, Gears of War is basically, like, the same thing over and over. You just slap a different story behind it.
Sure.
Whereas, with every installment of the Elder Scrolls franchise, there's been a major, major leap in terms of the fidelity of the game. Like, if you go back and look at Morrowind, it most assuredly plays like utter garbage.
Sure.
Like especially the melee combat, the bows were atrocious.
So
Like-
so I guess like then like this isn't anything new for the Elder Scrolls franchise, right? Like
I
they
mean, it is, but it isn't. Because between Morrowind and Oblivion, it was, I think, maybe like 6 or 7 years.
Sure. But my point is that like not necessarily the time in between, but like they're not putting on a game unless they feel like it's a marked improvement, right?
Yeah. And again,
So-
that's kind of what I was saying earlier. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it sucks. I hate it, like, that they're doing this, but I want them to take their time with it. Like, I want them to reach
Yeah.
the goals that they want to hit.
Yeah.
But that being said, I also don't want it to turn into, like, you know, Half-Life 3. Because supposedly,
Sure.
the reason that game doesn't exist is because they don't feel like they can add anything to gaming as a whole. Like, they don't feel like they can innovate upon anything.
Well, there's a lot of things that are being said about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I mean, I feel like Gabe Newell was the one that said, like, with Half-Life 1, they did this, and, like, that's how they felt like they added to or changed gaming. And then with 2, they did this, and it did the same type of thing. And they
Yeah.
haven't essentially gotten to a point where they can do anything.
Well, to be clear, and this is the part that I feel like people always forget, is they never even finished like the 3rd episode of Half-Life 2.
Oh, yeah, they didn't.
So, so there's still that hurdle to climb.
Yeah.
But
they're afraid of the number 3.
yeah, Valve just can't count to 3.
I mean, so far that remains true.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's gotten up to 2, and then that's it.
Excuse you. Alien Swarm is still at 1.
Well, I just mean, like,
Yeah, I know. Portal 2, Left 4 Dead 2.
2 is the most that anything has gotten to.
Half-Life 2, Episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's... Yeah. But, like, I don't know. Kind of going off topic. Like, from what I understand of Valve's structure, like, their employees are allowed to work on whatever they want, as long as if it's progressing the company.
That's so strange to me.
Well, I mean,
great.
you
but,
have
like,
Steam money, so, like, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you don't have to actually do anything. So yeah, so if, like, again, like, this is just from what I understand, is that, like, you can work on whatever you want, and then, but, like, no one wants to work on Half-Life 3 or the Half-Life series.
I'll fucking do it.
You say that, right? But, like,
If I was the only one, like,
yeah, if you're the only one, it's like, all right, well, I guess. And I'm sure the, like, people who get jobs at Valve are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring Half-Life 3. And then, like, there's probably, like, just all this documentation on all the Half-Life games, and they read it and they're like, I don't know what to do.
yeah.
Like,
Personally, if I got hired at Valve or something and they were like, you know, we can do anything that you want to do, I'd make a Portal 3. Because, like, don't get me wrong, I love the Half-Life games, but I never got super invested in them. Like, they're not bad games. They weren't, you know.
I don't feel like there needs to be a Portal 3.
I do. Just because I need more Portal hijinks in my life.
Sure. But
Like,
just
it
make
doesn't
DLC,
even-
like...
Well, I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be, you know, like a full-blown sequel or anything. It
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
even
what
really have to have a story. Just give me, like, a fucking puzzle game that you update every so often that is Portal.
Yeah. We should actually do the co-op Let's Play.
Yeah, probably. At some
Yeah.
point.
One of these days. Why don't people watch our Let's Plays?
Because we don't make them anymore.
Well, I mean, yeah, but no one watched them before.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think that when the 6th game comes out, you guys are gonna, like, fans are gonna be okay with it. Like, the wait's gonna suck, but it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah.
Is my guess.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the reason they did a Skyrim Redux and they're now doing Skyrim VR is because they realized this is a ways off. Like, we don't want people to forget about the franchise. Which, I mean, that wouldn't have happened, but...
I get what you're saying.
I don't know. I'm just
hoping... Like there's probably, like... I think kind of, like, going off of what you said, you can assume that any time that there's a new Skyrim remake, you're going to end up with another 3 years added to the time.
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
I feel like that that's a fair assumption, though, right? Like, because like you said, they don't want to overwhelm with with Elder Scrolls.
I think adding 3 years is a bit much, but. I don't know. I mean, just because I say that overwhelming people with open world fantasy adventure games, or fantasy RPG rather, just because I say that's a bad idea doesn't mean that they won't do it. I mean,
no, but I don't feel like they would, right? Like,
I mean, they might not, but
I'm sure I don't know. I'm just making 3 years up out of my ass here, but like, they are successful enough as a studio to basically be able to do market research and be like, when would the ideal time be to release this game? And like, I'm sure that like they have a scientific number attached to it where it's like, all right, we're gonna do it at the exact right time, whatever that time is. And I'm not gonna claim to know the time. Like, it could be like they're like, okay, you know what? Like, what we're gonna do is we're gonna release one new Skyrim, get people hyped. 6 months later, new Elder Scrolls game, right? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they're gonna do that, but I feel like. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess then are Skyrim VR and the remastered edition close enough in terms of release that they count as one delay?
I don't know. Like, that again, like, that's their number, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm sure that they have their strategy mapped out for the next 5 years at least, at the very least. So like, I mean, it's really just whatever they have in their findings, right? Like,
as long as they don't sit there and go like, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out, we're gonna release on the same day, or even in the same year. Frankly, like, as long as they don't do that to me,
would your head just like literally explode?
I would just curl up into a ball and start crying because I don't know how I would make that choice.
You would have to like quit your job, right? And just play games.
Yeah, probably.
So if you guys don't want to kill Ben, get us to a point where we can just play games for a living, and Ben will just do like streaming of all the Elder Scroll, like in Cyberpunk 2077 when it comes out.
Yeah, I'll even play through, you know, all the Witcher games if you want me to. But I mean, yeah, I mean technically I haven't even played through the first two. I've played a little bit of the first Witcher game. Never touched the second, and I am now currently working on beating the DLC for the third, so
yeah.
Great game.
Alright, well,
I recommend everyone plays it.
We're stalling out here and we're past the 30-minute mark, so give or take.
You're past the 30-minute mark.
I am included in Wii.
Your face
is also included in the Wii.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm gonna go before I just get mad at Ben for being tired and stuff, so. And I'm tired.
Alright.
Maybe it's like a Sunday or Saturday. It's Saturday, it's not Sunday. Maybe it's a Saturday nap kind of day.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway,
Anyways.
we'll see you guys next time on Split Couch Games.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.